Lulu here behind the camera. Thought I'd come out and give an overdue update of what's going on. It's, I guess about almost mid-August. The Rose of Sharon is blooming. I think it's a little earlier than usual. It started blooming about 3 weeks ago. And these flowers that we call around here outhouse flowers, because they used to plant them, the colonials used to plant them next to the outhouse to hide the outhouse. Those are all blooming. Everything looks a little bit sad, or more than a little bit sad because of the drought. And this Joe Pye weed, which I dug up from the side of the road years ago, is finally starting to bloom. Took years. But mainly what I wanted to show is the vegetable garden, which isn't doing all that well, partially due to the drought and maybe partially due to soil depletion. I don't know, it just hasn't been doing well the past few years. I dug up potatoes here. I got quite a few, not tons, but quite a few. I have gotten a couple of ears of miniature corn, and the summer squashes, once again this year, are just not producing anything. I got 2 itty-bitty ones, and now they're just looking dead. So I don't know, ever since one year I planted different types of summer squashes and seems to have introduced something that, I don't know, affected the soil. I'm not sure, but since then even zucchini I can't get to grow. And the deer have been eating the pole beans, as maybe you can see, and also the winter squash, the acorn corn squash. So that's why I put up this secondary line of defense, fence defense, which so it looks kind of absurd, but that's attempting to keep the deer from eating the beans and the squash. The sunflowers seem to have enjoyed the weather this year, and I enjoy this purple pole bean that's growing up and then onto the sunflower. And these beans with a C, and I just for the moment can't remember the name of them, haven't bloomed out here, but I had planted a few inside the fence, and there are a couple orange ones blooming. I think they're all orange, or orange and yellow maybe. And the zinnias have started blooming. I've also planted a few of those inside the fenced area. And these marigolds, tangerine and lemon marigolds, haven't started blooming yet, but they smell delicious, but you can't smell them. And this sad area is tomatoes, which I have not been able to successfully grow now for years. So I don't know if it's the tomatoes I've been planting, which the past few years I've been planting tomatoes given to me by a friend who starts them. They're heirloom tomatoes, or if it's again an issue with my soil. The bush beans, which I bought by accident last year, I thought they were pole beans, are growing really well in front of the corn. And the pole beans on this side of the fence, where the deer can't get at them, look nice. And I have been getting quite a few beans, but honestly I think because of the drought again, they haven't tasted as good as they normally do. They've been kind of, I don't know, almost tough or dried out. And obviously the peas have gone by, but they keep producing a few here and there. Like, there's one there. So I let them keep going, and I pick them and just put them into my salad. So just letting the asparagus gain strength for next year. And what else is going on in here? Again, the peas are gone by, but in there I actually had some lettuce that got overtaken mostly by the clover. And there are some scallions in there that I think a little bit later might produce something. Oh, I just saw a large pea pod that I'll have to get for my salad tonight. Had a few carrots. They've actually done better this year than most recent years. And the Swiss chard. And I've had a few beets, which I don't think you can see on the other side of the Swiss chard. And my neighbors are doing some construction, as you can probably hear. Sunflowers. And basil. Basil always does well in my garden. There's one patch there, and then next to it is some newly planted flat leaf parsley, which over the past few years I planted about 3 years ago, and it's been just reseeding itself. So that's mainly what you see there is the reseeded parsley. And there is one tomato plant back there that still is producing a little bit. I've been getting a few, enough just for a little bit of a salad for myself. Guess it's a good thing I live alone. And I was going to walk around and show you the other little patch of basil. I usually try to plant things in different areas just to see where it does well. So the stuff up there looks good, maybe just because it's been getting better air and water, I don't know. This patch doesn't look as good. It looks like it's getting sunburned or something, I don't know. And you can see all the parsley growing there. I also planted some sage, hoping that the smell would deter some rodents. That's basically why I planted these marigolds in the first place. I don't know, my rodents must be very determined, because many things like mint that I have in my herb garden don't seem to discourage them. And I've got to come out here and dig up the onions. Most of them are ready to be dug. They're not that big, but they're still, I assume they're ready to be dug, because what was green is now brown. And the deer dug some up for me by stepping on them or beside them and popping them out of the ground. So I don't know, maybe they're trying to help me with my harvesting. Anyway, this is what the deer ate, but that's fine with me. Those are Jerusalem artichokes. A friend of mine gave me them, and they grow like weeds. You're supposed to be able to eat the roots, or they're kind of like tubers. And I tried them early in the season, and something upset my stomach. I think it was them, so I read about it online, and I guess certain people can't eat them because they don't do well with their digestive system. So, I've got some parsnips that I planted last year that are pretty huge. So I should probably start digging those up. There's a few more scallions. As I said, I try to plant things in different places to see where they'll do well. And this kale, very well eaten by the worms. Lots of moths and leaving their wormy babies, eating all sorts of things like this kale. But anyway, this kale I planted 2 years ago, I think, and it reseeded itself last year and then again this year. So I actually planted them over here, and then they're like moving over here. So I let things like that just go, because if they are so determined, and I do eat some, not as much as as I have, but I don't really like eating the ones that have lots of wormy worms and holes. And this Swiss chard was actually reseeded from last year. I had planted it last year, and then I put some plastic over this area here, hoping to see if I could keep it growing late into the season. And some critter rodent came in from, I think they dug from this area where I've got to have a heart trap to catch things like skunks. I've so far caught skunks, groundhogs, and possums digging down. That's why I have that plastic there and that netting. They must have a tunnel pretty deep, because I put this, what's called hardware cloth, down as far as I could get it down in this rocky soil, and made like an L shape so that they couldn't burrow in, but to no avail. They burrowed in anyway. And over the winter, something got under the plastic, and apparently I made a nice little spot for them, and they ate everything. There were some Brussels sprouts under there, and Swiss chard, and I forget what else, some different types of kale. They ate everything, and they also ate the plastic. So when I came out in the spring, there were little bits of plastic everywhere, and it was just eaten straight down to the dirt. There was no evidence of any growth of anything. Anyway, I don't know. It's hard to keep up with the critters. There's lots of them. Between the critters and the weeds, lots of them, and only one of me. Anyway, let's leave on a high note and look at the sunflower. Later.